There's a lie moving through the spiritual world right now. And most people don't even realize that they've swallowed it. That's because it sounds like wisdom. It wears the clothes of truth. But underneath, it's just fear. They say it's all a dream. It's all an illusion. Nothing really matters. You don't have to lift a finger. Just revise it in imagination. You don't have to speak. You don't have to act. And you definitely don't have to build. But what if I told you that that is not awakening? That is avoidance, dressed up as enlightenment. If you felt that tension, if you know that there's more to this path than floating and quoting, this is for you. Today we're talking about the 7 keys of the building mystic. We're going to start by defining who is a building mystic. A building mystic is the one who no longer floats above the illusion, but steps back into it with awakened authorship. The building mystic is the one who has seen through the dream, but instead of detaching permanently, they return. They go back into the dream, but this time to shape it with intention, with power, and with the precision of the soul. The building mystic is not here to escape the dream. The building mystic is not here to argue with the dream. The building mystic is here to build the new world from the inside out. The building mystic is the one who wields the state of detachment, not as retreat, but as a foundation upon which to build. The building mystic acts when the current calls, not by forcing it, and not by just remaining passive, but acting when the current calls. The building mystic revises reality, yes, uses imagination to revise reality, but it's not to avoid reality, but rather to claim it. The building mystic refuses to hide behind spiritual platitudes and cosmic apathy. The building mystic is the one who engages with the material plane as a conscious sculptor of form, because the building mystic knows that to be God in man means to be God in action. The building mystic is the one who refuses to continue playing small and instead chooses to walk as the signal. The signal. The brave mystic is the one who doesn't just remember the truth. They build with truth. There are 7 fundamental keys of the building mystic, and we're going to go through them one by one, and we're going to unlock these doors. Let's talk about key number 1. Detachment was never the destination. It's all an illusion. It's just a dream. You're taking it too seriously. Nothing actually matters. Why even bother building? Why even bother trying? Okay, maybe you've heard that voice. Maybe it's come from the outside. Maybe you've identified people who are kind of in this cosmic spiritual apathy. Or maybe it's even come out of your own mouth. Maybe you had some sort of awakening, some sort of mystical experience, or maybe a trip with plant medicine that left you questioning the point of it all. Oh, if it's all just a dream, I'm just going to wake up anyways, right? Maybe it's not actually worth trying to do anything. I mean, it's just a dream. It's just an illusion. Matter isn't even real. Nothing is real. But here's what no one tells you. That voice that says those things, that's not the voice that is wise. That's the voice that is tired. That's the tired voice. It's the voice of someone who knows that they're in the dream, in a dream, in their dream, but forgot why they came in the first place. Here's the bottom line. Detachment is not wrong. Detachment is necessary. Detachment is what clears the field. But detachment is not the crown. It's not the ultimate goal of awakening, is not to detach from material reality and, oh, it's just a dream, just let it be. Okay, that's not the crown. That's the broom. That's what clears the table, clears the floor, clears the foundation. It's what you do before you build. Because what good is it to see through the illusion if you do not then choose to build something beautiful with it? Nothing actually matters. Nothing is actually real. It's just a dream. You're going to wake up, they say, with a spiritual shrug. But let me ask you something. Does it matter when someone speaks truth in a room full of silence? Does it matter when someone turns pain into poetry? Does it matter when you choose to show up in love, even when the world around you is flickering and glitching and forgetting? Of course it does. Of course it does. Because detachment is only sacred when it ultimately leads you back to lucid devotion. We didn't wake up so that we could just float endlessly through the dream. That's not the point of waking up. We wake up so that we can build altars of memory within the dream. We woke up so that we could shape the myth of the dream with our bare hands as the author. We woke up so that we could write the next layer of reality. The point was never to escape it. So yes, it is all a dream. Yes, you are dreaming now. And you, your true identity, is the one inside of that body you wear who knows that it's all a dream and who recognizes that this means the dream is yours to shape. Key number 1 is this: detachment is not the end. Detachment is the empty canvas. You still get to pick up the brush. You still get to be the author and to write yourself forward in your story. Okay, so waking up and recognizing that it's all something that is illusory, that it's a dream, that even what appears to be solid and real is actually just vibrating consciousness, solidified, the plastic nature of reality, hardened into form, okay? Waking up and recognizing that, that's not the end. That's not game over. That's actually the day your story begins. Let's talk about the second key of the building mystic. Key number 2. You don't have to lift a finger. Neville famously said this. I'm sure you've heard him say it. You don't even have to lift a finger. That line has been echoed so many times that it's become doctrine. It's quoted in DMs. It's whispered in Telegram threads. It's on Instagram Reels, TikTok Shorts. It's worn like a badge by people who haven't built anything in years. But here's the truth. Most people, when they say things like this, they're not quoting Neville, they're hiding behind Neville. Neville never said, do nothing. He said, don't force it. Don't try to manipulate the bridge of incidents. There's a world of difference here between not doing anything and not forcing, not trying to manipulate, not trying to assert your will over circumstances. There's a world of difference. Neville didn't say sit on your hands and wait. What Neville said was imagine vividly. Assume the end. Let any movement come from alignment. Somewhere along the way, for some of us, that concept became warped into a gospel of glorified passivity. Some people started calling action ego. They started labeling engaging with the dream as interfering with the dream. They started pretending that building something was less spiritual than waiting for it to drop from the sky. But let me tell you something real. When you are awakened, you don't hustle from fear, but you do move with precision. You don't hustle from fear. You never hustle or move out of panic. Okay, you're not reacting to the dream. Okay, but you are moving within the dream, but it's not from panic. It's from precision. It's from authored precision, the precision that only the author can walk forward into form. The awakened don't scramble, but they do say yes and step forward when the current surges. Because when the imaginal act is complete, that is when the bridge begins to form. And if you ignore the call to walk that bridge, well, that's not being enlightened. That's being afraid to be seen taking a step. You don't have to lift a finger. That doesn't mean that we are to be spiritual couch potatoes. That means we don't grasp. But we still move. We speak. We write with authority. We launch. We build. We move with and from alignment. Because you and I are not the puppet of reality. Rather, we recognize that reality is our living reflection. Reality is our living reflection. And so key number 2 is this. Stop waiting for permission. Don't lift a finger in panic. but when the current calls, move like thunder. Let's talk about the third key. The third key gets into the heart of revision and unlocks it. Revision is one of the most misunderstood tools in the Neville toolbox. Revision. I've seen people try to use revision almost like a cosmic escape hatch. Oh, that didn't go how I wanted it to go. It's okay. I'll just revise it. Okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds mystical. But here's the problem. If you are revising to avoid presence, you're not using the law, you're hiding behind the law. Revision is not a shortcut to skip the moment. Revision is a sacred tool used by the awakened author to reclaim authorship after you fully face what has happened. After you fully faced what has happened. Fully faced, okay? So you lived the scene. After you have fully lived the scene in presence and faced what happened, revision is the sacred tool to reclaim authorship. Okay, so imagine this. You're hanging out in a group of people, and someone makes a sexist comment, and you feel the jolt of it, this out of alignment energy that just comes in and just drops the vibe of the group by 15 points, just like that. You feel the jolt and you freeze. And later, you realize, you're like, wow, that's not how I wanted that to go. I didn't want that energy to enter that space. So you revise it. You smooth it over in your imagination. You reimagine it as going better, smoother, perhaps brighter, right? Brighter part of the story. That's fine. Using revision in that way, that is part of the work. But here's the truth, the deeper truth. If you never own the moment in real life, if you never reclaim your voice, if you never step back into the scene, and if you never speak truth when truth is required, then let's be honest. You're not revising, you're retreating. And that's not mysticism, okay? That's avoidance, wearing a sacred disguise. This is the bottom line. Revision is not a tool to escape living your life and being present in what's happening around you. Okay? Revision is a sacred tool of authorship. Revision is when you come back to the scene at the end of the day after you've lived it in presence and you say, okay, how would I rewrite this in the book of my life? How would I rewrite this? It is never something's happening in real time around me. Let me just cower in the corner, let it happen, knowing that I have this ace up my sleeve and I can just revise it later. Okay? That's not the purpose of revision. The purpose of revision is to re-author the story after you've lived it in presence. Okay? And it's very important to recognize that. That's the essence of key number 3. Real mystics also show up in the room. They show up in the room before they revise the memory. Presence first, and then rewrite the pattern. Respond, then revise. Don't rewrite the past while abandoning the present. The goal of revision is not to erase discomfort. It is to walk as the author. The point of revision is to walk as the author. Even when the scene gets tense, that's what builds the new world. Walking as the author is what builds the new world. It's not bypass, it's not scrolling, it's not wishing it went differently. Building the new world as the author means entering the fire without flinching. All right, let's talk about key number 4. Let's name this key clearly. There is a version of the mystic path that becomes a hiding place. This particular version of the mystic path, it looks peaceful and it sounds wise, but it's actually frozen in non-participation. This is the mystic who says, all is well, it's just a dream. There's nothing to do here. Just observe, don't interfere. On the surface, this may sound enlightened. Maybe you've even met people who just kind of seem to float above it all, right? But if you look deeper, sometimes that illusion of just floating above it all in a spiritual cloud of passivity, sometimes that's actually fear wearing a silk robe. The world doesn't change just from silent knowing that it isn't real. Your silent knowing that the world isn't actually real doesn't change the world. The world changes when you recognize this truth and then you choose to move from it. That is what reauthors the world. Key number 4 is this. If you're not shaping the dream is still shaping you. You're not lucid if you're inert. You're not awake if you refuse to act. You're still inside the hypnosis. It's just that now maybe you're smiling about it. This passive mystic, they like to feel like they're above it all. But authorship is not about floating. Authorship is about placing yourself on the page. It's about stepping into the dream and entering the scene, living in presence the conversation, signing the contract, building the platform, the project, writing yourself forward. Not because you're caught up in the illusion and forget that it's an illusion or forget that it's a dream, but because you recognize the illusion, you recognize the dream, and you remember that you chose to be here on purpose. You came here to consciously re-script it, consciously, as the author. There's nothing holy about hiding. There's nothing spiritual about standing at the edge of the fire, arms crossed, saying, I know the secret. I've already beat this game. Great. Okay, you know the secret. What did you do with it? Did you bury those talents? Or did you invest them wisely? Did you take your flame and did you light a lamp for someone else? Or did you bury these talents, bury the flame in the soil of self-satisfaction? It is the author who walks back into the dream, not to be ruled by the dream, but to reshape and rewrite the dream from the inside out. Don't just wake up from the dream. Wake up inside the dream. And then pick up your tools and build the dream. Build the dream. This is the gift of realization that you are the author. Not to detach and stop showing up in your life thinking that you've graduated from the game, but rather to wake up inside the dream, pick up your tools, and then build your dream life. Write yourself forward. Let's talk about key number 5. The world is not testing you. The world is responding to you. There's an old paradigm that maybe you'll recognize as I say it and speak it out loud, and it's time to destroy it. That old paradigm that is ready to be destroyed in this moment is the one that says life is a test, that the world is here to punish you or to humble you or to make sure you're worthy before you are allowed to rise. Let's call that what it is. It's religious trauma. That concept is religious trauma. It's programming. It's dogma from a paradigm that no longer serves. Because the truth is, the world does not test the author. The world echoes the author. It's not a test, it's an echo. You are not being tested, you are being reflected. Every delay, every glitch, every trigger, every obstacle, this is not judgment, it's communication. You are the one that is broadcasting the signal, and the field is the one that is reflecting back to you your signal, that is answering in kind. And the moment that you stop seeing the world as a judge, right, you take off those robes of, oh, let me judge the reflection, okay? And you start seeing it as the transmitter and then the listener. I am the signal pulsing the field, and I'm now hearing my reflection. That is the activation of authorship. That's when it begins. Key number 5 is this, okay? The world is not your test. The world isn't judging you. It's mirroring your frequency. The world is your transmission field. Authorship begins with resonance. This means it is up to us to speak with clarity, to build with presence, and to move with inner congruence. When you do this, watch how the so-called tests evaporate. Because there was never a teacher in the sky grading your soul. There was only ever your own signal, bouncing back from the mirrors of reality to show you what you still believed. The dream is not here to test you. The dream is here to respond to you and to help you remember that you are dreaming. That's the role of reality, to help you, to assist you to wake up within the dream. So stop looking for tests to pass. And instead, choose to start shaping the field with the frequency you came here to deliver. Okay? You incarnated into this dream with a signal, a soul signal, a frequency of your real original self. And somewhere along the way, like almost all of us, that signal became just a little bit distorted. Okay? That's not a problem, that's a gift. Because that distortion is what is reflected back to you in the mirrors of reality on purpose as a tool of awakening to help you realize, hey, something's not quite right. Okay, it's that little flickering of memory, your soul memory saying, wait a second, I remember when life was different. I remember another way of being. Okay, that's that signal coming back. It's embedded within the distortion, embedded within the noise, and it's there to help you start to remember. And the moment that you start to remember, that's when you can start to lock into that frequency of your soul signal and begin to amplify it, begin to deliver that frequency to the field. And this is also when you begin to be the author, the one who is in command of their presence, of their voice, of their state, of their mood. Let's talk about key number 6. Power is not the problem. Power has never been the problem. Okay, they say absolute power corrupts absolutely. Okay, there is some truth to that, but it's not the power that's the problem. The problem is unintegrated presence. Unintegrated presence. Okay, so this is one of the core fears that keeps mystics from stepping into real authorship. It is a fear of our own power. Fear of our own power. How many of you can relate to what I just said? That perhaps on some level, a fear of your own power has been one of the core fears that has kept you from stepping into real authorship in your life. Anyone who has stepped into real authorship of their life has felt this fear. It is a natural part of the path. The fear of power. What if I am actually more powerful than I can possibly imagine? What would that mean? That's a real thing. That's a real thing. Fear of power, okay? But here's the thing. The ability to move matter, move energy, shape matter, make decisions, speak truth, influence reality, embody creative command. That's true power. But somewhere along the way, we were taught that power corrupts, power isolates, power is ego, and spiritual people should not seek power. So what happens if we believe these things that we're told, if we believe that power itself is the problem, rather than recognizing it is unintegrated presence that is the problem? What happens? Well, naturally we shrink, we soften, we become mystical, but also unimpactful. We may quote deep truths about the nature of reality, but then never actually build or launch anything within the dream. We may pray, but not actually build. We may feel, but not actually move anything or anywhere. Why? Well, usually it's because we still believe the lie that power itself is what is dangerous. That being powerful at the level that we suspect maybe we are. I mean, God in man, okay, that is sheer power, sheer love, and sheer power. But here on the human plane, sometimes we're afraid that power will turn us into tyrants, that people will think that we're operating from a place of ego, that we have a God complex, that we're greedy or manipulative or just in it for ourselves. Okay? But here's the truth. True power does not corrupt. Its unintegrated presence and identity. Unintegrated presence and identity is what corrupts. The corrupt person is the one with extreme power who does not know who they are, who does not recognize that their source is not only sheer power, but also all love. If you refuse to integrate the part of you who is the author, who holds the power, then that power may leak out in distorted ways through a passive attempt to control everything, through some sort of air of spiritual superiority, or maybe even through chronic indecision. Chronic indecision is a symptom of unintegrated identity. Okay, the power that you are, but you're not integrated as an identity. So that's when it can slip out and leak out through distortion, and it can show up as chronic indecision or even helplessness. And sometimes that chronic indecision and helplessness can wear the disguise of virtue. Oh, I'm one with all things. I am all love. Let me just hide behind those platitudes and not actually accept also my power. Okay? That's the lie. The truth is this. Power is safe in the hands of the integrated identity. The mystic who embodies power with clarity as the author. I mean, even that word, author. Is there anyone who has more power than the author? It's the integrated identity of the author that can hold power safely, with integrity, with clarity, and can broadcast power with presence. True power is never taken from another. And that's a key point to make as we talk about distortions versus truth. Okay, so power over others, taking other people's power, that's not power. Okay, that's playthings. Okay, that's playthings. That's playing in the sandbox. That's childish. True power is never taken. True power, I'm talking about the power that creates worlds. That power is never taken. That power is remembered. That is the original power. That is your original essence. That is your soul truth. True power will never seek to manipulate. Never. True power commands, but through presence. Through presence, true power commands. True power is never wielded in an attempt to dominate others. Again, that's playthings. True power is held in service to the signal. This is your rite of passage. You do not collapse the world by becoming powerful. That'll never happen. You will never collapse the world by becoming powerful. But you will collapse your timeline if you refuse to own what is already yours. So here's the key idea. It is time for us to stop fearing our power and rather to start integrating our presence. Stop fearing the power, start integrating the presence that holds the power with integrity. And then stand in the flame, because this power is a fire. It is a fire. The fire is built. The fire of the author is built and it is tended and it is maintained. It is a fire. The true author who integrates their presence steps into the fire and then broadcasts without distortion. Okay. Let's talk about the seventh key of the building mystic. We're going to end with this. The new world doesn't just arrive. The new world does not just arrive. The new world is authored. There is no utopia coming. There is no galactic savior out there on a spaceship. And there is no perfect age that lands as long as we meditate enough. There will only ever be what you choose to author for yourself. It doesn't matter how many videos on YouTube you watch about ascension, or about 5D, or about the shift, or the flash, or the new species of humankind. It doesn't matter how many astrologers you listen to, how many teachers, seers, visionaries you listen to, okay? They are not going to bring the new world in for you, okay? It's not coming from the outside. It is coming from the inside out. The new earth is not a prize that you win. The new earth is a project that you build. It doesn't come to those who wait. It emerges through those who pick up the pen and write it into being. Flame in one hand, blueprints in the other. Why the flame? The world is on fire, my friends. Do you not see it? Open your eyes and look around. The old system is on fire. Now is the time when the authors must emerge. Fire in one hand, blueprint in the other. And who's writing that blueprint? The author. The author writes that blueprint. We are not here to escape the world. We are here to rescript the world. Brick by brick, word by word, ritual by ritual, system by system, post by post. The future is not found. The future is forged. And the building mystic doesn't just see what is possible. The building mystic brings it into form. The building mystic is the one who gathers, who organizes, who initiates, who encodes myth into matter. Now, in the liquid modernity of the now moment, if you are hearing the sound of my voice right now, now is the time. This is the era of the building mystic, the spiritually integrated identity, okay? It's the, yes, I know it's a dream, and yes, I'm aware of the illusion of the material world, and I'm now going to bring those two hemispheres together, rise above, and then detach, and then reinsert myself into the dream, and I'm going to build my dream. I'm going to author my new world. Now is the time for you and I to do that. To show up, even though it is a dream. To choose to write, even though it is a dream. To choose to lead, even though it is a dream, to choose to plant, even though it is a dream, to spark, to walk with fire in one hand and blueprints in the other, even though it is a dream. And this, my friends, is how the new earth arrives. Not as prophecy, but as authorship. And if you're ready to be the author, you already know. You already feel that fire building in your heart. You already know that this is who you are and who you're meant to be. You already feel that you are remembering another way of being. You are remembering the authorship way of being. And you are remembering that the dream is waiting for you to build it. And these are the 7 keys. And I know I came bearing fire today. And I also know that you can take it. And I know you're ready for it. I know you're ready to ground that fire. You're ready to tend and build that fire. I know you're ready to guard that fire. That fire of passion, that fire of purpose. And if these words are resonating with you and you're like, you know what? This is my path. This is meant for me. I'm ready to walk like this. Okay, you have everything you need. You have been empowered. This stream gave you so many keys, 7 of them that unlock the illusions that maybe some of us, speaking from experience, I hid behind several of these illusions at some point during my path, and I had to reclaim the key of authorship from each of them. And now it's time for you to do the same thing. You have everything you need to walk forward. And also, if you're ready to do it with others that are speaking this language, saying the same thing, and also building with this level of passion and purpose, I've built a container for people like us. A space, a training gym where we don't just talk about authorship, we do it every single day, starting with 99 days. But let me tell you something. After those 99 days, you will be a new version of yourself, a whole new version. And 99 days, you will quickly realize, is really just the beginning. I'm speaking of brave mystic training. Why brave? Because everything we just talked about requires profound courage. Okay, you feel that. I know you do. This is a boldness. Okay, it requires courage. That's why it's brave mystic training, because we understand that this courage is a fire, and we ignite it, and we tend it, and we build it together. Brave Mystic Training starts 8 days from today. And if it's right for you, you already know. Okay. At this time, I'm going to invite members of the Channel Mastermind who are in the Zoom room who would like to share or ask questions or contribute to this conversation in any way. Who do we have in the Zoom room? Orlena.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I do have questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I wrote them down. I said in key number 3,
yes,
we mentioned walking in the authorship. Do you mean examining why that experience occurred initially and then revising it?
There is some nuance here. This is the perfect question. There's some nuance here. Yes. Okay, so living it with presence, right? So yes, it's exactly what you said. It is recognizing why it happened, which requires asking, right? It requires the inquiry into what part of me reflected back in that way, okay? So that example that I gave, that's an example of distortion. So what part of my signal was distorted in that way? Okay, so that's part of it, yes. And then it's choosing to revise how it happened. And then it's also choosing to reclaim the authorship going forward. Okay, so it's saying, okay, so this is how it happened. All right, I recognize that. Let me see if there's a deeper wisdom or a deeper gift buried in the circumstance. Let me harvest that. Okay. Let me then rewrite the scene in my imagination and also set a sacred intention of authorship where if that ever happens again, I will operate differently in the moment. Okay. That's how we bring it full circle and actually land this. Okay. Because the point of revision is not to escape showing up in our lives. It's to revise the memory so that we become the person who showed up correctly the first time.
Okay. And then my second question
Yeah.
is in key number 5, you mentioned that the world isn't testing you, it's responding to you.
Yes.
But even though you're persistently holding the new reality in your mind, there is still a delay in your 3D world, right?
Can be, yes.
Okay, so it can be.
Can be, yes.
Okay. So then...
Is your question about the delay?
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
If your question is about the delay, then this is where we talk about the other key of skillful authorship from last week, which is timing and delivery. Okay, so delays aren't necessarily indication of failure or not doing something correctly.
Right.
Delays can be timing and delivery. Okay, every seed having its appointed hour. Right? So delays are actually, when you're consciously authoring, it's never a delay. It's scripted timing. Okay. The word delay implies judgment. Okay.
So, all right. I'm just thinking in my mind.
Sure.
Because right, we have it in our minds, right? That it's already done.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter like what happens in the 3D world.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Because you're the author. You already know what's coming 3-4 pages down the road, right? You're writing the book, right? So it's flowing through you. So it's, if you're the author and you expect everything that you're writing to show up right on, I mean, you can only write a word at a time. Let's make this very pragmatic and practical, right? If you're literally writing a story, you can only write a word at a time. Right? So you may know what's coming in the next chapter, but you're still writing the plot line to get there. Right?
But you don't know how it's going to come, correct?
No, but you know who you're going to be that's going to make it happen.
Okay, perfect.
So when I say you're writing the story, what you're doing is you're writing your identity. You're writing your integration of identity of the one who is and has. Okay. That's the part that is you're in your hand. Okay. Right. The world reflecting back to you, that's the part that's not in your hand.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Awesome questions, Orlena. Thank you for that.
Excited for this class.
That's great.
Okay. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome.
Anyone else in the mastermind chat? I see Shelly left a comment and she said, "Oh my God, the ultimate goal is not to detach. Detachment is what you do before you build."
Wow.
I'll be honest, when I was preparing this presentation, that first key hit so hard, I realized I probably could talk the entire episode just about that one key because it's that powerful of a key. And I see Shelly is reflecting that signal back to me in this moment through this comment. Detachment is what you do before you build. Yes. I mean, that's why I started with that key, because that shatters all of the illusions and makes space for the other keys. But this is one of those teachings where really it's going to serve you to go through it again, because there is so much here. So much here. It really is. These are your liberation keys. Set yourself free to build your dream. All right. Anyone else in the Zoom room?
Well, I was just thinking about like we are the authors, but if you compare it to, like, let's say when you write the movie and when you put already script and the actors supposed to say what they have to say.
Mhm.
But sometimes the actor decides, oh, I want to say this line, and the author might like it, might not. So how's it like? How can we reflect it to like this? So author can say like, okay, I like this, it can stay, or just like, no, I don't like it, you have to go back to original script. Or if actor will just refuse, he can just, well, I would say like fire the actor. I don't know.
Yeah. Fired the actor. Yeah, no. I'm smiling because Neville told this story. Maybe you'll remember this. It was a lecture that I narrated on my channel recently. It was about the author who wrote screenplays, right? And he would send them to the producer. And the producer at first was like, oh, it's good. And the author's like, hey, I didn't write this screenplay for you to tell me that it's good, right? So he started in his mind, he started having the producer say, this is great, just great. This is terrific. He kept changing the lines. And then if you remember, like the hook part of this story is when he wrote the final line for the producer to say, and then the producer showed up and didn't say what he was supposed to say. And the author almost fell off his chair because he was so used to having the producer just parrot back to him what he said, right? So the producer's like, no, this needs revisions, right? So the author went ahead and made the revisions. And then when he sent it back, he was like, let me hear again. Let me put these words in his mouth again and hear him say exactly what I want him to say. And then that final line that the producer delivered was perfection, word for word, what he wrote once again. Okay, so sometimes it does come down to persistence.
Mm-hmm. But if we like it, well, let's say we plan one thing, but it turns even better, then
that's a gift from your inner author who is one layer above the story and knows better.
Okay.
Right? Still you, but a different perspective, right? Like, hey, Oksana thinks that she wants this person to say this, but really what's really going to move this storyline forward is if they say this. And then it happens. You're like, oh, that's great. That's perfect. Yeah. That's another level.
Thank you.
Of course.
That makes sense.
Awesome. Thanks, Oksana. Okay. Members of the channel mastermind, go ahead and come into the Zoom room. We're going to do our mastermind session. And for those of you on YouTube, I trust that this message has served you, these 7 keys that set you free, so that you can choose to not just awaken from the dream and think that you've graduated from the game, but rather you can choose to detach as a way of clearing space to then come back in and then rebuild the dream from the inside out. Imagine wisely, my friends. Write yourself forward.